فاستجب لي كما وعدتني، إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء، وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء، وخضع لها كل شيء، وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته، وكل خطيئة أخطأتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته، وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك، وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك، وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك، وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقبائحي ساترا، ولا لشيء من عمل القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت، سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت، وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت، وكم من عثار وقيت، وكم من مكروه دفعت، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي، وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بخيانتها. ومطالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك. وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا. لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري، غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمه، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي، يا إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادقة وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثوه، يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار؟ ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين. يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين، أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسلوه إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفها؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقها؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رباه؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات، ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير تنزله أو إحسان تفضله أو بر تنشره أو رزق تبسطه أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي، يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادنا بسوء فأرده، ومن كادنا فكيده، واجعلنا من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك، وأطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Once again, we have Sayyid Abbas Razavian. We're very blessed to have him. And Sayyid Abbas, thank you so much for taking your time and coming every week, week after week, alhamdulillah. If we can welcome him with a loud sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure being here, and we thank Allah for allowing us to be together and to make dua, especially Thursday night, which is one of the best nights of the week. We know that it is difficult because many of us have busy schedules. Children have school tomorrow, we have work tomorrow. But it has been a Yasin tradition, or before called headquarters tradition, that it started with Thursday nights. Maybe 22 years ago, I was thinking about it when I was coming here, that this is how we started when I was in college and our friends were in college and some were working. At first we started to do Salat al-Fajr together, which was hard. And then we started this dua. And because of this dua, which is Dua Kumail, and Thursday nights we started to live together. Alhamdulillah, it started from here. So this has been a Yasin tradition, and yes, there are other days in the week that more people will come. Yes, Friday nights, Saturday nights, most of my people there might be more attendance. But that night, this specific night, we want to make sure we take advantage of this night. And as you know, this is one of the nights of the ziyarat of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. 124,000 prophets seek permission to go to say salams to Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, Imam Hussein. This is the night that you will cry for him. This is the night of istighfar. We have in the Quran that this is the night that one of the prophets wanted to seek forgiveness for his children. He would wait till the night of Thursday night. Tonight's topic is about nur, light. And it is something that we need to talk about and address, because we may feel that we live in a dark part of the world. We may feel that we are away from the shrines, away from the holy places, and we are deprived. But alhamdulillah, these special time periods are for everybody. And the way to connect to God is not, just somewhere specific, a specific location. God is everywhere. And doing ziyarat of the imams can be done from afar. Doing Dua Kumail can be done from far. So what we have to focus on as Muslims in the United States, in the West, is how to keep nur and light. How to become nurani, we say, and have nur. This is one of the most important needs of man. When you talk about the definition of mankind and what's man's purpose, you see that when you look at the prophets, how many great prophets did we have? How many great imams did we have? What common characteristic did all of these great people have? It is their connection to God. It is them having nur and light. If you take away this nur and light, those names would not have been remembered 1400 years later or 2000, 5000 years later. It is this light that makes that person timeless, because you're talking about something that is of the spirit. So something that we do need, and I advise you, my brothers and sisters, not because we're looking for numbers, but to help people, help others come and have them come on Thursday nights, where we sit together, not because it's me, whoever is speaking, we hear Quran, hear Hadith, a short lecture, we make dua, and you preserve that light and nur that you need for the rest of the week. Because you don't realize that the way that we are and the way we have been created, if you take away insan from light, he will be doomed. Did you ever think why we have to pray 5 times a day? Over and over throughout the Fajr, before the sunrise, during Dhuhr and Asr, in the business times, we need that refreshing light, nur, and connection with God. And in Maghrib and Isha in the evening. So Allah has programmed us, because of our need to talk to him, to connect with him, to have light and to have nur, to be able to at least 5 times a day be able to gather this light in us. So those that on Thursday night they don't come or there's no specific program, they are missing out on one of the best nights. And I always tell this to myself and others. Remember Sayyid al-Shuhada tonight. Remember Imam Hussein Thursday night. And on Friday when you did istighfar, you cleanse yourself, you're pure, you remember Imam Zaman on Friday especially. So these I think are related. The way to connect to Imam Zaman is istighfar and Imam Hussein. Because the banners of Imam Zaman are the banners of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In the Day of Judgment, to show the Quran, Allah Ta'ala subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us in Surah Al-Hadid, one of the most important needs that a person has in the hereafter. You can remember this Surah Al-Hadid, verse 13. On the Day of Judgment, يَوْمَ يَقُولُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ وَالْمُنَافِقَاتِ, the hypocrites that day, those that have been deprived of light. What's the attribute? If you think of a hypocrite is a person whose exterior is better than their interior. That's nifaq. A person, their exterior is nice. Na'udhu billah, maybe someone like me. They say assalamu alaikum. They smell nice. They look nice. They look religious. But their batin and inner self, there's nothing. There's nothing in there. Their interior is weaker than their exterior. If you are equal, your exterior is equal to your interior, then you're a normal person, normal Muslim. A hypocrite, he always shows more than he is worth. But a wali of God, his interior is much greater than his exterior. Exterior, you might see him as somebody normal, somebody walking, but inside, when he's all alone or she is all alone, they are praying and crying and connecting. And you see many stories of the prophets, and they asked, who is the best person in this town? Sometimes they would find somebody that their exterior wouldn't be that great, but they would have the maqam and station of a prophet. Because they would do what's right. Their interior was good. They would make the right decisions. So we said, al-munafiq, a hypocrite is a person that is lacking that inner beauty, lacking that light. On the Day of Judgment, what happens to a hypocrite, do you think? And in the Day of Judgment, we realize that they have nothing inside them. So the Quran has لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, they tell those that believe, انظُرُونَا نَقْتَبِسْ مِن نُورِكُمْ, look at us. Wait for us that we may acquire some of your light. The munafiq doesn't have light. The munafiq is dark and comes to the believer and says, look at us. We need your help. We need your light. Imagine so much light that a believer has that they can give it. They're thinking you can give it to others. The narrations say that about a believer, when a believer acts properly to Islam, it says they become as bright as a shams in the hadith, as bright as the light, as the sun. The highest individual that we have in terms of nur and light living in this earth is Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, who is in the riwayat is a shams, the sun behind the clouds. He's the sun. Actually, in some of the narrations it even has about Imam Zaman alayhi salam, about that nur and light that he has. In the hadith has, Inna, I'm not going to say this name because it's appropriate to stand up when you say this name. Inna, let's say our Mahdi. إذا قام أشرقت الأرض بالنور ربها واستغنى الناس عن ضوء الشمس وذهبت الظلمة. When Imam Zaman comes and returns, because his dhuhur and his reappearance, inshallah we see it with our eyes. One of the fears we have is that we die or death is approaching very fast and we die, we never see Imam Zaman. We don't see his government. When he comes back, and that day is like the Day of Judgment. Some of the characteristics of the hukumat and government of Imam Zaman is like the Day of Judgment. So his light will be like the light of the sun. So you see, they come to the believer and they say, give me some of your light. And the believer tells them this, He tells them, قِيلَ ارْجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ فَالْتَمِسُوا نُورًا. Go back behind you and seek light. Maybe this behind you means go back to the world. And go back to the world and seek light there. This is where you find light. You cannot find it there anymore, munafiq. You cannot acquire that light. You can find it, you cannot acquire light there. So we have a limited amount of time in this life. We only live one chance to live, we have. And we're trying to gather as much nur and light for ourselves as much as we can. This nur is what? Is this light in nur? Because some people get confused. You know, there's many books written about when you say Allah nur as-samawati wal ard. When God is the light of heavens and earth, they ask, what does this mean? Some of the scholars have written, articles and different possibilities about how can God be light? How can God be nur? So obviously this nur and light that we're talking about, it's from God. We are acquiring light from Him because He in the Quran is referring to Himself as the light, as He's a light of the heavens and the earth. Or we have, for example, in the hadith or in dua, Ya nuran qabla kulli nur, wa ya nuran ba'da kulli nur, wa ya nuran laysa kamithlihi nur. That Allah is the light, that there's no light like Him. What is this light? What do you think light of God means? That God is a light. Is it, do you think, like we talk about this light that you see here, or light like the sun, or even greater than the sun? Allama Tabatabai gives a definition of what nur means. He says, based on the linguistic definition, on the lexiconical definition of light, which is this, huwa dhahir bidhatihi wal mudhiru li ghayri. What does light mean in Arabic? It means by itself, it's dhahir, it's apparent. When something has light, nothing needs to show what it is. It's already showing itself. And al-mudhir li ghayri. And it is showing and making dhahir and manifest to other things. Did you ever be in a dark room and you use your phone flashlight? And what does it do? It's mudhir li ghayri. You use the flashlight. There used to be flashlights, I think, in the homes now because of phones. Everyone has their phone. So it shows what's around you. The sun, when it comes out, the sun, there's immediately everything at night. If you couldn't find something around the desert, everything is apparent. Now, the beauty about light is when something becomes has so much nur, you cannot give light to itself anymore. You cannot give light to the sun. If you put a flashlight to the sun, would you make it brighter? No, because it's so intense that it doesn't need any other light. So with this definition of light from Allama Tabatabai, we understand that he says, basically, when Allah nur as-samawati wal ard, a very irfani and mystic definition, is that He's a dhahir bidhat, that by essence, by Himself, He's apparent and manifest. When God is nur, it means that there's nothing else that needs to show God for us. That He's apparent and manifest more than any other creation that He has created. That the creation doesn't point to Him. He actually points to the creation. That the way that we understand God and the real meaning of God is from one of the tools that we have that is not from our necessary aql and not necessarily from seeing, even though you can prove God from the aql and logic, but you see God with the heart. And once you feel God and you see God, His presence with the heart, and also prove Him, say, but with the aql, He is dhahir and apparent. There's nothing else that should be able to make God clearer. Don't you see in some of the du'as, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, du'a Arafah has bika araftuk, through you I have come to know you. or meaning in other parts of dua that there's nothing that needs istidlal for you or any proof. There's nothing that God needs proof of. So when someone lives a wholesome Islamic life, when someone lives in a society, an ideal society, let's say when children are raised and the fitrah of us is very attached, and the beliefs that we get from our fitrah are very clear, there's nothing that needs to be proved. Allah is manifest by Himself. So that's one definition we could say of light, is having no need to become manifest. That Allah is nur and light. Also in the Quran, when you see about light, sometimes the Prophet of Islam is referred to as light, that he is nur. Wahi and revelation is nur. The Quran is nur, light. The Imams, you can see in the Hadith, they are light and nur, referred to as light and nur. You see, for example, that خَلَقَكُمُ اللَّهَ أَنْوَارًا and الزِّيَارَةَ الْجَامَعَ. Allah has created you, Ahlul Bayt, as nur and light. Others say, there's also hadith we have, that this verse, Allahu nur as-samawati wal-ard, God is the nur of the light in the heaven, the sky, and the earth, that hidayah is the meaning, that He is hadi, He is the guide. The nur means to show. When you put light on something, your headlights at night, it's showing you the path. It's helping guide your car. So when Allah is the nur, Allah is the guide, and is guiding all of creation and doing hidayah. He is guiding creation, either takwinan, either by force, things by force, and you see creation that is in no way has free will, and they are doing orbit around in the universe, in the solar system, or you see in when it comes to the environment and to nature, how things work like clockwork, they submit to the will of God. They're being guided, takwinan, they're being guided. Or insan. Now insan has the option of being guided or being misguided, either becoming harmonious with the universe or not. So when it comes to insan, Allah is the guide. He is helping guide insan to where he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to do, to make the path clear and to take him where he wants to. Allah is the guide. The verse actually following this has fi buyutin adinallahu an turfa. Allah is the nur, light, guidance, and then where is this light? It says fi buyutin. Allah is the guide, is the nur in these homes, is present in the homes, and the hadith has this verse in books of history that this is the home of Imam Ali and Lady Fatima alayhi salam. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa alayhi. Therefore, we're in need for light and nur. And all the tools of hidayah that we have and guidance that God has for us is our light. Either God directly guiding us, or from the prophets guiding us, from the Quran guiding us, from the Imams guiding us, from our intellect guiding us, from our within and nafs that's guiding us. All the tools that's around us and what we're surrounded by is light and nur. And our job is to increase this nur. What happens when a person has more light? What happens when a person worships God and doesn't have light? If a person worships God and they don't find light within themselves, this can be something very dangerous. Because the entire point of worship of God is to connect to Him, is to have light. And once a person has worships, their dhahir is nice, but their inner being is wasted, then they become a hypocrite, and their Islam becomes hypocritical. People see them, they see them as symbols of light and nur. Their children see them, okay, they're practicing Islam. But then you see their speech has no worth, their actions have no value. And parents immediately, kids, they look at their parents and say, if Salat is going to fix somebody, it would fix my dad, it would fix my mom. They don't have that attraction. They don't have that behavior that is needed. They don't have that godliness, that ta'alluh. When you look at someone that has entrenched themselves in nur and light, they're different. As we said, the tradition says they are like shams. So therefore, that person becomes a very attractive person. That person begins to take others to Islam. And the danger of practicing Islam without thinking of light and nur is that you can become someone that is full of darkness and someone that nobody wants to be around, because you've worshipped God, but you're not enjoying your worship. You don't have that attraction. You're not connected to God. People like individuals that have connected to God well. One of our ulama by the name of Ayatollah Bahjat, when he was in Najaf, every day he would visit the shrines. He would visit the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. We have some of our ulama that had a lot of nur. Ayatollah Shahid Sadr. Not only would he do ziyarat of Imam Ali, he would prepare his lessons in the shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And this would help him, and he would like it. And actually, he even had a dream from one of his family members that Imam Ali liked the fact that Ayatollah Shahid Sadr was preparing his lessons in the shrine, that he was asking, and saying, that we like this. So you look at the lives of these individuals that have connected themselves with these factors of guidance, either the Quran together, the Prophet, the Imams, and those that have spent years. Ayatollah Bahjat spent years, every day, maybe 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, being in the shrines, in Najaf, or being in Qom or Mashhad. What does this do to someone after 70 years, 60 years? It gives them light, it gives them nur, and we don't really realize it. There are those that can see this light and nur in people, and they see, with those actions that you do, they'll see that a person changes completely with light and nur. So that is what our talk was tonight, about how to seek light and nur, and then introduction to this topic, and how important it is if you're going to do it. Thursday night is one of those nights that it's very easier to happen. And, Thursday night and the day of Friday, these are days that are very specific for worship. And those many people that would Thursday night and Friday, they would worship Allah. They would have a program for themselves. And that is one of the good things that inshallah that we can do, is that we know it is in the work day. We know that we have work tomorrow. We know that children have school tomorrow. But we do need this, especially where we live. Or else you'll notice that a person will be drifting and they won't know why. They won't know why they're drifting. Even myself, I'm not anybody important, but even myself, I need to come to programs myself. Either listening or there's some summers I was here in the US, and if you do not go to that masjid at least once a week, the ideal would be even once a day. And our teacher, Ayatollah Mushtahid, he would have hadith every night that he would teach every night. Even in the day he would teach and tell his students to come at night. Because when you surround yourself with nur and light, you become nurani, you have light and nur. And the farther we are away from the centers and the masajid, it's going to be very difficult for you to acquire that light. We're going to finish what we were talking about. We talked about one of the hadith in which a person, his dua can be heard. As we say, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajahum. Ali Muhammad. At the end, we want to give advice. And when someone is full of light and nur, The hadith says that their prayers are also answered. Prayers are, we talked about this, prayers are not answered sometimes for reasons. But those prayers that can be answered, and it's good to be answered, there's 8 characteristics that Imam Ali alayhi salam listed because a person questioned him and said, we do dua, we make dua. Allah says, Ud'uni astajib lakum. Pray to me, I'll answer. But our prayers are not heard. And Imam Ali gave 8, and I mentioned 3. I don't know if you remember, 3 out of 8 of these characteristics that a person needs to have for his prayers to be answered. And that person whose prayers is answered is full of light and nur. So we have individuals that they work on themselves spiritually, and they reach a position that they might not make a very long dua, a very short dua, and it's heard. Allah hears his dua. They're mustajabu da'wah. When they do dua, it's heard. So our goal is that you look at the fruits of this path. You look at the potential that insan has. Insan can reach this position that when he does dua for something, it would be heard from Allah, and his prayers are answered. So Imam Ali very specifically is giving the opposite side, that because of these 8 reasons, your du'as are not heard. For because of these 8 characteristics, people are in darkness, meaning Allah doesn't want to answer their prayers. We talked about the first one. أَوَّلُهَا أَنَّكُمْ عَرَفْتُمُ اللَّهَ فَلَمْ تُؤَدُّوا حَقَّهُ. The first one, you know God, you did dua, you made dua towards God, but you didn't recognize and realize his right of Mawlawiyat, his right that God is our Mawla and that we are his slave. We think God has created the universe and just left it. Don't recognize that second by second our existence, we need God for it. Our source, our nur and light is from him. 2. وَالثَّانِيَةَ أَنَّكُمْ آمَنْتُمْ بِالرَّسُولِ ثُمَّ خَالَفْتُمْ سُنَّةً وَأَمَدْتُمْ شَرِيعَةً. You believe, you say you're Muslim. I say this to myself when our du'as are not heard. Maybe we should look within ourselves sometimes. Sometimes we always blame God. God, why don't you answer my prayers? Well, did you read about some of the characteristics and conditions for prayers to be heard? This is from Imam Ali Mansub, narrated from Imam Ali, that he said, look at this, work on yourselves. Work on yourselves, and then you can say, is my prayer answered or not? That you believe in the Prophet, you say, I'm Muslim. But where are we, and where is the sunnah of the Prophet? Where is the sharia of the Prophet? Where are all those teachings that he came for? And did we implement those correctly in our lives? Did we even bother to learn them? There are people sometimes, you say masal al-shar'i, that's very easy sometimes, and people just didn't know. I didn't know this. One of the places where there's istihqaq iqab, they say, there can be punishment, is when a person doesn't know the ruling and they don't research. They don't research, they go ahead without any research. We have killed the sunnah. We didn't even research what the sunnah is. When it comes to business, there's sharia. When it comes to our lives, there is sharia. There's an Islamic way of life. There's a path for everything that we have. When it comes to marriage, when it comes to raising children, when it comes to the rights of people, when it comes to worship. Alhamdulillah, we have these rules and regulations that are not for 1400 years ago, as we explained before. They're for now, because the needs of mankind is forever. Those needs that comes like salat and saum, these are needs that mankind always has. Even if it takes 1400 years later, even if it comes 10,000 years later. Man needs to talk to God. Man needs to be pure and tahir before he does salat, for example. Third, وَثَالِثَ أَنَّكُمْ قَرَأْتُمْ كِتَابَ الْمُنزَلْ عَلَيْكُمْ فَلَمْ تَعْلَمُوا بِهِ. You didn't act upon the Quran. 600, 800 verses of the Quran we didn't act upon. I'm talking about myself. وَالرَّابِعَ أَنَّكُمْ قُلْتُمْ إِنَّكُمْ تَخَافُونَ مِنَ النَّارِ You say, I believe in hell, heaven and hell. These are people that are believers. They're people that were with Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. He's saying you believe in the hellfire, but every day you do something that you come closer to the hellfire. وَأَنْتُمْ فِي كُلِّ وَقْتٍ تَقْدَمُونَ إِلَيْهَا بِمَعَاصِيكُمْ فَأَيْنَ خَوْفُكُمْ. Where is your fear? We are so much afraid of pain. You know, you heard of stories, I've heard of some of the people that wanted to sin and they just set, their finger a little bit, they put it by a candle and how much it would hurt. And there's a story of this student of theology. He was very poor, they say, very poor. And, there is this, I'm trying to translate, they say, kalla pazi. If I say it, if I translate it, you guys won't be intrigued to eat it, but it's one of the delicacies, like in Iran, I don't know in other countries, but one of the delicacies, they cook the head of like a lamb. And for him, it smelled very good. He was hungry. 1 or 2 days he didn't eat. And I don't know if anybody has, not been able to eat for so long. And he would smell this, they say, the fragrance of this meat cooking. And at nighttime, it cooks at night, at day, it constantly cooks. And he would smell, and he opened up, he said, well, the guy, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to taste a little, eat a little bit. In the morning, I will tell him, I'll say, okay, I owe you this much, I'll pay it later, I don't have money. So he opened, they say, the pot, and steam hit him. And when the steam hit him, he says that it burned him a little bit. He says, talk to his nafs, how can I bear the hellfire if I can't even bear the steam? This is haram. This person, he doesn't know I'm going to eat his food. They say another night he came, and the person would come, the cook would come and notice that, he was detailed. They would see that the pot would move. And he's wondering, why is it moving but nothing has been taken? He would come, the starving talaba student of the Hawza. So there they say that finally that person found out that he came to catch him the third night, and he caught him. And he gave him that food. And he saw he was starving and hungry, and he even gave him money. But later on, when he became a very knowledgeable person, in his dreams they say that it is because of those nights where you stood away from the haram, which you were starving. And as I said, I don't know if we've ever had been starving for 3 days, and that you fought against your nafs not to eat haram. And then they gave him knowledge, So if we can't even bear steam in this world, candlelight, how can we bear the hellfire? I'm talking to myself. And there's other parts to this story later on, inshallah. You can ask me about it. والرابعة أنكم قلتم أنكم تخافون النار والخامسة أنكم قلتم إنكم ترغبون في الجنة وأنتم في كل وقت تفعلون ما يبعدكم منها. You say you believe in heaven, you read verses of the Quran every day about heaven, 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 every day. But every day we are not intrigued or not attracted to heaven. Instead, we are separating ourselves from heaven. Where's our raghba? Where's our love for heaven? وَالسَّادِسَ أَنَّكُمْ أَكَلْتُمْ نِعْمَةَ الْمَوْلَى وَلَمْ تَشْكُرُوا عَلَيْهَا. Sixth reason why our du'as are unheard and why we're dark and away from light and nur is that you consume the ni'mats of your Lord. You consume the bounties of your Lord day and night, and you don't do shukr, you're not appreciative. You don't even realize that that ni'mat came from God. That's the first step. You're not even on step one. For example, I'm here right now, together, we're here. You think, oh, I went to Du'a Kumail. You didn't know I was invited to come here. This was your spiritual rizq, to read the Du'a, to be together, to read hadith. When you do salat, oh God, I'm doing salat. You don't realize that He has brought you there And that is a ni'mat of your Lord, so that you can talk to Him. And that He didn't give this ni'mat to other people. He wanted you to speak to Him right now when you're doing salah. Is this from me or is this from my Lord? He has brought me here. You know, I'm not going to make it theological, philosophical, but we do believe in free will, and we do believe in the rububiyyat of God. They call this rabitiyya tuli. This is a vertical hierarchy. Even when you believe I have free will, I come to do salat, at the end it's nothing else but the will of God. There's nothing else but the will of God. He willed this salat to happen. Can you say that He didn't will this? Then na'udhu billah, we are mushrik. He has to will everything, or else then we would come into shirk. So when I perform that salat, yes, He gave me permission. It is, a vertical hierarchy. That He is the illat that's farther away. We are the illat and cause that's closer. Yes, we chose to do salat. But at the end, it's nothing but the will of God. And He desired it, and He allowed us and gave us permission to make salat. So therefore, when you are doing salat at that time, recognize and realize He gave me permission. He allowed this to happen right now. So then I say, Alhamdulillah, not only for ni'mats that are maddi and physical, but for especially spiritual benefits. Knowledge. One of the best things that Allah can give us is spiritual and religious knowledge. To learn. Many people, they can't hear hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. I know people that are very thirsty. When we were in Qom, there's a channel, Al-Walaya channel, which belongs to one of the Maraja. We'll end with this, inshallah, and I'll read these. And it said that, in English, when we speak, I was recording, they would always tell me to make it very short. Like I'm making it long now and torturing you. They would say, make it short, because they're afraid it was for a channel. They'll change the channel. They said the English programs do short, or even sometimes they'll tell me only speak 60 seconds. Because the attention span is so short, they want to go to something else. If it's on social media, they want to flick, right? But at the same time, in English, when it was like this, in the language of Hausa, they said they would have a program that for 1 hour and a half, they would speak 1 hour and a half. For me, they would say 10 minutes, 5 minutes, sometimes 60 seconds. 1 hour and a half, and still people were calling and continue. Because this is the language of Nigeria. And they were being, for the first time, many people are hearing, or a lot of people are hearing the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam from Qom, and the teachings from Qom. And they did not want to change the channel. So many people are thirsty for this knowledge. Many people are but they don't know where to seek it, where to get it. It is coming to you, to your neighborhood, or to when you read books online. It's coming there available, but we don't recognize its worth, and to do shukr. As-saba inna Allah amarakum bi'adawati shaitan. Allah has commanded you to be enemy of His enemy, but we don't do mukhalafa. And 8, we'll end with this, وَثَمَانٍ وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِكُمْ. You have placed the faults of people. One of the things that Allah is very, you could say, critical of and specific of is the rights of people. حُقُوقُ النَّاسِ. And one of those things is putting the faults of others in this. And it's interesting how this is related to du'as being answered and to finding faults with people. That you have placed the faults of people in front of you, but you have put your own faults behind you. When I look sometimes we forget to look in the mirror. How many faults of myself do I have? How many things that I do, top CEOs in this country are going to make a mistake. We are insufficient. Don't ever think that what we're doing is perfect. We are full of uyub. And one of the characteristics of darkness is a person that is always criticizing people, always finding fault with those around them, but they don't realize that they have faults themselves. and they don't make themselves busy with removing their faults. So this was a talk about nur and light, and hopefully that this will give us encouragement till next week to work on ourselves, think of ourselves throughout the day, do some dhikrs, remembrances of God, do better, more actions, do more acts of worship, I'm telling myself. But we said also it's the night of Friday. It's the night of Thursday night, the night of ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. We say salams to Imam Hussein alayhi salam to seek the nur and light from Imam Hussein, who is Safinatul Najat and Misbahul Huda. Imam Hussein is referred to as Misbah, a lantern. And I'm imagining, as a father myself, imagine somebody and put yourself in Imam Hussein's shoes. He has a child, and that child shines like the moon, Ali Akbar. And that child is so similar to Rasulullah, and everybody is missing Rasulullah after all those years. Because, the time of Rasulullah and al-Bayt had a very high position in the society. But after Rasulullah passed away, they had a life of dhulm. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam brings his son to Karbala, and he is waiting for his son to go to the battlefield. And his son, imagine that time when Imam Hussein alayhi salam here's his son that is so similar to the Prophet of Islam, his son that is full of light and nur, seek permission to go to the battlefield. And this is the jihad akbar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. A person has said, they said, do Rawza and Musibat for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, how Imam Hussein was killed. One night he did the Musibat of Ali Akbar. Second night he says, I told you, do the Musibat of Imam Hussein, how Imam Hussein was killed. And he said that he did the Musibat of Ali Akbar, the son of Imam Hussein. The third again, he said, I said, do the Musibat of Imam Hussein, how Imam Hussein was killed. He says, you didn't understand. I did. I mentioned how Imam Hussein was killed. Imam Hussein was killed when he lost Ali Akbar. Imam Hussein was martyred. He lost everything when Ali Akbar left. When his son, thirsty, goes to the battlefield, how Lady Zainab, salawatullah alayha, they say in the books of Musibat, here she rushes and comes towards the body of Ali Akbar, maybe to give life to Hussein again, to give life to Imam Hussein. How did Lady Zainab come though? Imam Hussein came to Ali Akbar, they say, with a sword. You hit the enemies and clear the path, possibly, right? But Lady Zainab from Talla Zainabiyya, which is a distance, would have to run through all these soldiers to reach Ali Akbar. You see, an abaya is something that is hard to run. When somebody is scrambling, it's very possible that it goes under your foot and you fall down. Maybe how many times that Lady Zainab fell on the ground rushing to come to her brother Imam Hussein, to give life again to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to see Ali Akbar. And this is the jihad akbar of Imam Hussein. This is the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Those that are parents, they know this. So Ya Allah, we ask you, because of the tears that we shed for Imam Hussein, because of the salam that we said for Imam Hussein's shrine, that give us nur and light, inshallah. Give us nur and light to our children, our progeny, our descendants of descendants. Give them, inshallah, guidance, show them the path, and make them of the followers of Imam Zaman, inshallah. Bring us our sun, the sun behind the clouds. Remove the clouds, inshallah. Allow us to see the sun, inshallah. Allah bless and have mercy on the family members that have passed away. They are waiting for us. They're waiting for our du'as. And all those that are sick, give them shafa. all those that are poor and needy, give them, inshallah, financial stability, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers and sisters, let's end with dua al-hujjah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Brothers and sisters, on your way out, please have some pizza. I think the pizza is set up outside. Thank you.